Every single human being who ever lived, every ancestor you have going back 300,000 years, had dark skin, no exceptions. So somewhere between that starting point and the hand you're looking at right now, something rewired the human species. This is that story, and it involves cancer, vitamin D, ice ages, and a star 93 million miles away that never once took sides. Skin isn't just packaging. It's your body's largest organ, and one of its most critical jobs is defense against UV radiation. Invisible solar energy that damages DNA and, left unchecked, causes cancer. The pigment responsible for skin color, melanin, functions as a built-in sunscreen. More melanin means more protection. In equatorial Africa, where humanity originated under some of the most intense sunlight on Earth, evolution selected hard for maximum melanin. Dark skin wasn't a preference. It was a requirement for survival. But UV radiation creates a second, less obvious problem. It destroys folate, a B vitamin essential for early fetal development. Without enough folate in the first weeks of pregnancy, the neural tube, the structure that becomes the brain and spinal cord, can fail to close properly, often causing miscarriage or severe birth defects. Lighter skin under intense sun meant more folate destruction, fewer surviving pregnancies. So evolution had two independent reasons to lock in dark skin across early humans: protecting DNA and protecting fertility. If this kind of biology explains history, storytelling is your thing, subscribing means you won't miss the next one. So if dark skin was this effective, why did any human population change at all? Between roughly 70,000 and 100,000 years ago, groups began migrating out of Africa, gradually moving into higher latitudes. Sunlight there behaves differently, weaker, filtered through more atmosphere, delivering far less UV. Suddenly, the same melanin that once protected against cancer and folate loss became a liability. Because skin needs UV exposure to manufacture vitamin D. Vitamin D isn't optional. It governs calcium absorption, bone strength, and immune function. Without it, children develop rickets, softened, deformed bones. In women, deficiency can weaken the pelvis enough to make childbirth lethal. Drop a population with highly efficient, UV-blocking skin into a low sunlight environment, and vitamin D production collapses. Bones weaken, death rates climb. Over thousands of generations, random mutations that reduced melanin spread, not through preference, but because they kept more people alive long enough to reproduce. Here's where it gets genuinely surprising. For decades, scientists assumed this lightening happened gradually over hundreds of thousands of years. Ancient DNA proved that wrong. Cheddar Man, a hunter-gatherer who lived in Britain roughly 10,000 years ago, had dark to medium dark skin, combined with blue eyes. The pale skin we now associate with Northern Europeans only became widespread in the last 6,000 to 8,000 years. In the full timeline of Homo sapiens, that's barely the final 3%. So what triggered this sudden shift? The Neolithic revolution, the switch from hunting and gathering to farming. Hunter-gatherer diets were rich in natural vitamin D from fatty fish, organ meats, and shellfish. Farming diets were dominated by cereal grains, which contain almost none. Suddenly, entire populations became fully dependent on their skin's ability to produce vitamin D from weak northern sunlight. And if that skin was still relatively dark, it wasn't enough. At the same time, farming communities were larger and denser than hunter-gatherer bands, which meant beneficial mutations could spread through populations far faster. Diet collapse plus population density accelerated depigmentation dramatically, compressing tens of thousands of years of gradual change into a relatively short evolutionary sprint. Skin color isn't controlled by one gene. It's shaped by dozens working together. And remarkably, East Asian and European populations evolved lighter skin using largely different genetic variants. Two separate populations arrived at the same solution through entirely different biological routes, a phenomenon called convergent evolution. When natural selection reinvents the same trait independently more than once, that's about as strong a signal as biology gives that the trait genuinely matters for survival. Blue eyes tell a similarly astonishing story. Every person alive today with blue eyes descends from a single individual who carried one specific mutation near the Black Sea region roughly 6,000 to 10,000 years ago. Before that person existed, every human on Earth had brown eyes. Blue eyes are younger than agriculture, younger than Stonehenge. A trait we treat as ancient and fixed is, in evolutionary terms, brand new. Step back, and the full picture becomes clear. Skin color is essentially a UV calibration system, your body's inherited best estimate of how much sun protection your ancestors needed, based on the latitude and diet they lived with. Dark skin isn't primitive. It's the original human default. Lighter skin is the adaptation, the modification layered on top. And the same sun that pushed some populations toward more melanin pushed others toward less, not out of preference, but through cold, indifferent calculation. Entire systems of hierarchy and prejudice were built around what is, at its core, a vitamin D and folate protection mechanism. And this process hasn't stopped. Modern life, sunscreen, supplements, fortified food, indoor living, has muffled the original selective pressures, but evolution is still quietly running in the background. Every skin tone alive today is a written record of exactly which environments someone's ancestors passed through, and every version was, in its own context, correct.